Welcome, everybody, to this exciting episode of the Fired Up Coaching Podcast. I'm here with Enda O'Doherty. Enda is an Irishman, originally from Naas, County Kildare, but living in Waterford. Enda is an author, an internationally renowned speaker, a teacher, and literally a lifesaver. Enda has an incredible story, and I'm truly honored to share you with my audience, Enda, to share your story. And welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Neve. Thank you. I always have the weirdest feelings when I'm listening to introductions. Like I'm speaking at an event in Cork tomorrow, and I know before I stand up, they'll read this big long introduction. And it's happened to me a few times. I'm sitting there thinking, God, that guy sounds interesting. And then you realize, geez, it's me. I have to get up and fill that role. But thank you for having me.
Yeah, delighted. Well, we have no problem with going for interesting man. Let's dive straight into a very interesting story, and then we can dive into your why. You walked up the Kilimanjaro with a washing machine on your back. With a heavy washing machine. Also, you walked down Ireland from Belfast to Waterford with a washing machine on your back. And before I ask you to share the story, I want to specify, because I researched this, it was 40 kilos, I think 70 pounds, so about 38 kilos, right?
Yeah. So my mom went to great trouble in 1968 to christen me Enda, and she was part of the Celtic revival, and she thought it was a lovely name. And I never dreamed that years later, Neve, that I'd be called the washing machine man more often than I'm called Enda. Like I was in Dubai last week, and I'm walking down the street, and this total stranger comes over and he goes, "Are you the guy with the washing machine from Ireland?" And I'm like, "Yeah, nice, nice to meet you."
Yeah,
Whereupon
I told a friend today.
my wife rolled her eyes and walked away. But yeah, I did carry a washing machine from Belfast to Waterford. It was 9 marathons in 8 days. And I then followed that up and climbed Mount Kilimanjaro with the washing machine on my back. I suppose to let people know that apart from being my midlife crisis, part 2, 3, and 4 combined, it was a mental health message. It was a simple message to say, this week in Ireland, 8 people will lose their lives to suicide. And many of those people were carrying a load that nobody saw. I'm sure your listeners have had that experience where you get that awful text or that awful phone call that someone has taken their life. And then most commonly you'll hear people saying, God, I didn't know. Like, how, that's so shocking. I thought everything was, he was fine or she was fine. My mental health message was, if you're under pressure, and anyone listening to this, if you are under pressure, is share the load. Don't carry something stupid around with you. Put it down, talk to someone. And I think we could all agree carrying a washing machine for 9 marathons was world-class stupid. It was right up there at the top. The most common question these people ask me about the washing machine, was it a full one? Is it a real washing machine? And I tell them, look, I'm not as stupid as I look. I took a hammer and I beat that washing machine to a pulp early on. It weighed, depending on the machine I had, it was somewhere around 40 to 50 kilos. But what I always say to people from a mental health point of view and a resilience point of view, it's not the problem you're carrying, because you could have a problem and it's massive to you, and to me it might be something completely insignificant. The pen that I've got here on my desk, nobody would consider that pen heavy, but if you hold that 3-gram pen in your hand and extend your arm, it'll take your shoulder off. It'll really hurt. So it's the duration that we're carrying the load. It's saying to people, put the load down. And I suppose it's also saying to people that to watch out for people. If you're watching this on YouTube, over one of my shoulders, there is a picture of my book, I'm Fine. And the title is I'm Fine, but on the picture of the book, I'm screaming, because the second message that I attached to the washing machine was, you need to ask people, how are you? Because when I was at my worst, Neve, when I didn't want to live, when I planned my own suicide and I was drinking 4 or 5 bottles of whiskey a week, when people in work said to me, how are you? I said, I'm absolutely brilliant. I'm fine. And the scary thing when I look back is, my friends would say to me, as far as they were concerned, I was the most upbeat, happy person they knew. I had an amazing job. I had a beautiful wife. I had amazing kids, really successful, gorgeous car, lovely house, money in the bank, good at his job. I had everything that I could possibly need, with one exception, and that was I didn't have happiness. And that lack of happiness and that level of alcoholism, it nearly took my life.
Yeah, incredibly courageous to come out and share that. I so admire that. But I'd love to know, and I read your book, by the way. We just talked before we went live on. I just found it incredible. I'm not kidding when I say that I laughed and I cried in the first chapter. Really, really, really incredible. Now, because I speed read it, unless I missed it, I don't think I found the point where your moment of enough, where you decided enough's enough. I call it the FTS moment, the F this shit moment. You know, when
Yeah,
you decide, I can't do this anymore. I can't do
yeah,
this anymore.
yeah,
I'm really curious about when that was
yeah.
and what step you took then.
Alcoholism is so varied. There isn't a type. It varies so much depending on people's economic, social, education background,
Yeah.
your mental health, your physical health. Like, if you worked with me, you'd love me. The guy who's always in great mood, always supportive, never late, always fixes problems. Mr. Superman in a crisis, shirt open, I'm the guy in the door, I'll fix everything. But the truth is I was really struggling. I was drinking probably 3 or 4 bottles of wine a week. I loved a Chianti. I still miss a really good Chianti with some steak. I was drinking maybe 5 or 6 pints of Bulmers cider. I was drinking, it got to a point where my Friday night drink was a pint glass of vodka. And I would drink a glass of vodka. It would be like you having a glass of Prosecco. It had practically no effect on me.
Yeah.
My tolerance went up and up and up. But your question, what was that moment? See, people assume you have this moment on the road to Damascus where you get
Hmm.
struck by lightning and you hear voices and you say, I'm going to change my life. I'd love to tell you. I'd love to. Maybe I should make one up. I should tell you I was on the summit of Everest looking at the sunrise. So the truth was, I played a tennis match late one night. Came home and had a massive glass of brandy and milk because that would calm me and help me sleep. Then I
Yeah.
had a terrible night's sleep with the brandy and the adrenaline. And my lovely wife, somebody said you shouldn't call the book I'm Fine. You should have called the book Maeve because most of the book is about her. But I said to her the next morning, "That's it. I'm done." And she said in a tone of voice that only married men or men in relationships can hear, she said, "That's great, love." And what she really meant was, in your wildest dreams, you're never doing this. You can't do it. And it's been a trigger, Neve, my whole life that when someone says to me, you can't, or that's not possible, I'm like, wow. I could just, even saying it jokingly with you, I can feel the hair in the back of my neck, stand up. I'm like, let
Mm.
me at it,
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Like and that was the starting moment. But, the crazy thing was I was medicating depression, anxiety disorder, sleep disorder. I was medicating that with alcohol. And, as terrible as it sounds, I was actually fine when I was drinking alcohol. The problems for me in terms of panic attacks, anxiety, sleep disorder, all those things, but my world fell in when I stopped drinking.
Yeah.
Like I was in my 40s. I didn't know how to go to bed at night. I didn't know how to go to sleep.
Hmm.
Like
And
something
and you
everybody.
you did it completely on your own, right? You didn't get any medical support or
Yes, I'm well known for being stupid. I should have got medical intervention. I should have had psychological intervention. I went typical me, head on, straight at it, cold turkey, and it nearly killed me. Now, the
Yeah.
only good thing about extreme cold turkey is one of the things that's kept me sober for the last 16 years is the fact that I could not do detox again.
Yeah.
Um, it was such an almighty nightmare that it has kept me straight and sober because I know I'd love a glass of wine or I really miss a whiskey or a brandy, but one could lead to two, could put me back where I was, and I'm not sure I could survive again the second time. So I'm not prepared to take that risk.
Yeah.
But the other side of it is, you said to me, what would this podcast be about? It would be about hope. Like for anyone listening to this, there's always the ability to change, transform, to learn new skills, to learn new things. I sat, I'm going to name drop now. I hate people who do it, but I'm going to do it. I
Go for it.
spoke, Spar were 65 years in Ireland, and I make my living now as a full-time speaker.
Mhm.
And at this event, first up, they had Kelly Harrington. She was fantastic, so funny and just natural. She was brilliant. And then they had Roddy Doyle, who, the van and the commitment. He's a real
Yeah.
hero
Yeah.
of mine. I
Yeah.
love him and such a
Great
nice
little
man to
player.
meet. And then
Mhm.
I'm a bit of a rugger bugger. I love my Leinster rugby. And up then was Brian O'Driscoll. And then was me. I spoke after Brian O'Driscoll. And afterwards, there was a lunch. And I was talking to Brian O'Driscoll and talking to Kelly Harrington. And at one point, I intentionally dropped my napkin and I leaned over to my wife and I said, "What the hell has gone on?" And she said, "What do you mean?" I said, "How did I get from the shed to here? Like and what's happening?" And my wife is so lovely. She just said, "Just relax, smile, and enjoy the journey. You work hard, you deserve this. Just enjoy the
Yeah.
journey." And it's like You know, I said to you, I met someone in Dubai I was working in Dubai last week, and a couple of weeks before, I was working in Tenerife. And to go from sitting in your bathroom at 4 in the morning because you can't sleep, drenched in cold sweat, planning your own suicide, to walking in beautiful sunshine on a beach and getting paid to do like it's just a miracle. I'm
It's total
just so
reinvention,
grateful.
right? Yeah. Can I share with you, and actually why I cried and I don't know why I do know why I
I'm
got so
sorry I made you
emotional.
cry.
No, but it was emotional. It wasn't sad
Yeah.
tears. It was happy tears. It was the part when you said you were in the shop and you were looking for a harness for the washing machine. And you said the guy went away and he was chatting and you thought
Yeah,
you would go, oh, maybe he'll give me a free pair of socks or something. And he came
that's
back
it.
and he
Yeah.
said, I'm going with you. And
Yeah.
it just really moved me because you had a dream, you had a vision. You posted on Facebook, you got 2 likes and 6 shares, as far as I remember.
You did read
And
the book.
yeah, I sure did, because this for me with my work, it's like, if you have a vision, go for it and just take the next step, the next right step, the next right step, and it'll come together. And it's amazing how it came together for you from that
Yeah,
vision. And
it was really embarrassing because I'm in this really big camping store in Waterford, MC Mac Outdoor Sports, and Ronan, the owner, his staff at the time is a guy called Owen Keane, and Owen is he's a giant of a man. Like he's about 8 foot tall and 8 foot wide, and he's a head of hair I wish I had, and he's a beard I wish I could grow, and he was asking me what kind of straps and what was like I was really embarrassed. Like you can't walk into a shop without sounding like you're a heroin addict, and somebody says, "What do you want to put in the bag?" And you go, "A washing machine." Like that's where they go, "Sorry, out. You'll have to leave." But I remember when I told him eventually what it was for, and he went away. I really did think I was getting socks, and he came back and he looked. I remember the look he gave me in the face. He went, "I've booked my summer holidays. I'm coming with you." And I went, "But I just met you," and I was like
that's the
genuinely shocked.
impact
And
that you had.
he said, you seem like an amazing person, and this is going to be feckin' epic." And so I met my wife for coffee, and she said, "Well, did you get the bag?" I said, "No." She said, "Did you get anything?" I said, "I got someone to come with us." And she was like, "What sort of a nutcase meets you and comes with you?" But he was my mentor, my bodyguard. He kept me that walk from Belfast to Waterford. Owen was like never more than 3 feet away from me. You know, it's interesting. I know in the area of coaching and mentoring, and you know, when I speak to teams and businesses, something you said there instantly resonated with me: the ability to take action. You know, like if you're sitting on the couch and think, God, my jeans are getting tight. Every time you think a negative thought, take a positive action. You go and walk for half an hour every time you have that thought this week, and watch what happens by the end of the week. You know, you look
Fabulous.
at your
Yeah.
bank account and you go, "Oh my God, I really have very little money." Staring at the statement, I guarantee you, will not change that number. But taking the tiniest action. So
Yeah.
I have I'm really obsessed with this persistent, consistent effort and tiny actions. So a couple of
Me
weeks
too.
ago, I
Yeah.
set myself a target. Like I'm 55 and a half, but I set myself a target of, could I do 100 push-ups unbroken? Now, not off your knees. I mean proper, crisp,
Wow.
chest to ground, full extension of the arm, right?
Hmm.
Now, I started like any normal human a couple of months back, and I was at 10 or 15. And most men or ladies would tell you, if you can do 15 push-ups, that's average, that's good, right?
Yep.
I'm now, fast forward 4 or 5 months later, I can do 70 unbroken.
Wow.
But the 70 unbroken, I'm doing them on my knuckles, which means you have to really stabilize your forearm, right? But every day, like I
Consistent
just keep
effort.
chip, but I just
Yep.
keep chipping, I keep chipping, I keep chipping.
Hmm.
And you see, I don't have a tattoo, right? But if I did have one, it would say, "Do what they won't, and then do what they can't." So very few people are prepared to do 400 or 500 push-ups a day. I know at some stage in the future I'll do it, I'll write about it, or I'll post it, and I'll say
Yep.
I'll demonstrate 100 push-ups, and people go, "That's incredible." But it's really not. It's just the baby steps. But that ability
Absolutely.
to switch off. Neve, my kids bought me for Christmas. They bought me one. Do you know that cursed Instagram ice baths? You know
Oh,
the right.
yes.
So I got the ice bath, and I know it's good for anxiety, and it's good for depression, and I know it's
Yes.
good for muscle recovery. So it's right, I'm going to do this.
Wim Hof. Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
Wim Hof, exactly. Read the book. Look, he was at Pendulum in Dublin there a few weeks ago, and um I got the ice bath on Christmas Day. We filled it up, and our whole family were laughing. And we all said Christmas Day. So we normally do a Christmas swim, and we said we'll jump in the water in the back garden instead in the ice bath. You know,
Yeah.
I did 10 seconds and thought I would have a heart attack. Okay. On Stephen's Day, I did 15 seconds.
Hmm.
The next day, I did 25 seconds. And this morning, I did 10 minutes and 10 seconds.
Wow. Wow.
But
That's amazing.
but it's that idea of persistent, consistent effort. I think
Yep.
sometimes people focus on the big goal, the mountain in front of them,
Absolutely. Hmm.
and
Hmm.
really put your head down, just take one step and take another one. And all of a
Absolutely.
sudden you're there,
Yep.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. On that note, I want to share why. So that was why I cried. I was just moved by that fabulous, that was so amazing
Yeah.
that that happened. The reason that I laughed out loud, was you also shared in the first chapter, you had your washing machine and you headed out one evening when it was dark, so none of the neighbors would see you
Yeah.
to practice. And
Yeah.
I was just imagining you and people not knowing, what is that man doing?
Yeah,
What's
I'm
that
I'm
on his
I'm looking
back?
out I'm looking out the window of my office here and I can see the spot. And not only did we go, he came up to the house, we put the washing machine on the harness. Not only did I go out in pitch dark, but I went out, I remember it was about 10:30 or 11 at night because I was mortified. Like I'm since liberated by that, in that I was worried what the neighbors, what would people think?
Yes.
And very quickly I realized, it doesn't matter what anyone thinks. Am I doing a good thing? Yes. Is it going to improve my life? Yes. Is it going to raise thousands of euro and get Pieta House open in Waterford? Yes. Why would I be ashamed? Why would it be awkward? And it's
Yeah.
funny, we attach that, I think, in Ireland culturally too, where it's bred into us. Don't step out, don't be different. And whatever you do, don't fail. Like failing
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
just, oh my God, the shame of it. Whereas, like, I actually have totally lost that, in that if someone said to me, do you know what, I think we should open a marshmallow factory on Mars, I'd go, okay, let's plan it. Let's have a go. And then when it didn't work, I go, here's 16 brilliant things I learned.
Absolutely.
But
There's no such thing as
I'm
failure. Yeah, it's only learning. The
yeah,
only failure is
yeah.
the failure to try.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny. At the time
Hmm.
I was like at the time I was assistant principal in a school, and I remember one amazing experience. I stood in City Square in Waterford, or the main shopping centre, fundraising for Pieta House with a washing machine on my back for a whole Saturday. And I remember, like, people said, "Oh my God, that's a terrible thing for a teacher to do. Like, what would the students will laugh at you and make fun." Those students turned up in Kilkenny and walked the last marathon with me most of my sixth years. I remember shortly after that, my mum passed away, and the amount of them who came to support me in that time of sadness and heartbreak for me, the amount of students who came to me and said in the subsequent years, that I'm planning my own suicide and I need someone to help me.
Yeah.
It was transformative that I was stepped out of embarrassment or shame. I won't say his name, but I remember particularly one teacher came to speak to me in the shopping center that day. And I remember seeing his body language and realizing how awkward and self-conscious he was talking to me, even though I was the one who was standing in shorts and t-shirt with the sweat dripping off me, holding the washing machine. But it was so liberating, Eve, like it's
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
I'm speaking at this event tomorrow and I'm talking about the ability to plan and dream outrageously,
Yeah.
like people living in it drives me crazy. People sitting on a couch, eating Domino's pizza, watching Netflix till their head falls off and think that they're living. They're
Yeah.
surviving.
Absolutely. That's
They're
what the name of this podcast is, the Fired Up Coaching Podcast. It's just live your fired up life, and you've got to, yeah, go after your dreams,
yeah, to go after your
and
dreams. It's just crazy stuff that I'd have someone say to me like, how did you end up on that TV show? And I asked.
Mhm.
Like our RT emailed me today because I sent them an email this morning saying the Today Show is great, but you never have any Waterford people on. Can I be the first?
Super.
And then most people go, oh my God, the shame, I'm not doing that, right? But they email back and said, that's a great idea. Here's another email this producer. And it's that ability to dream, that ability to make persistent, consistent effort,
Yep.
and that ability to not give a damn about failure. You
Yep.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what I think has been transformative in my life, that of course and the
Absolutely.
washing machine.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So also, I think you have a you had, and you still have a very strong why. And I'm curious about whether your why has evolved, but your why initially was Pieta House. So for international listeners, they won't know what Pieta House is. Do you want to explain
Yeah,
what it is?
yeah. So very good friend of mine, Senator Joan Freeman, she lost her sister to suicide. And for months it killed her, thinking about why did it happen, and why did she do it, or and then it dawned on her the real question should have been, how can I stop other families feeling what I'm feeling? And she's an amazing woman because she went to the bank, remortgaged her house, quit her job, and opened Pieta House in Dublin, a treatment centre. And there's now practically one within 70 kilometres everywhere in Ireland, including the one in Waterford, which we're very proud of and delighted to have. I remember actually when we fundraised and I remember the night it opened, like within 2 weeks, I think they were at maximum capacity. So there's a real need in the area that we live.
Incredible.
But
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah, but I remember promising myself that when I got out of the fog and the misery and the darkness of depression, I wanted to put my hand back into it, and I wanted to reach in and pull other people from it. I
yeah.
wanted to give other people hope. And it's amazing. Like I went to the cinema there a couple of weeks back with my wife, and we parked the car, a little bit down, and we were walking past Pieta House, and she's a very quiet, calm, um, she's a very modest lady. And we walked past, there was no one around, and she just looked over and she said, "We did that." And like, it's
Hmm.
just amazing. Like it's 5 or 6 years later to think that we could impact people's lives. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, and you continue to with your message. Yeah, such a meaningful life. I actually Googled 700,000, no, seven, oh gosh, is it 700 million or 700,000 people worldwide have committed suicide? Really, it's just shocking. It's devastating.
yeah,
And
it
also, I'm
is.
curious, in Ireland, let's focus on Ireland maybe first. What is the government not doing that people need to, what could they be doing better, and have they improved with the services for
Well,
prevention?
I think intervention services are brilliant, and I'm so proud that we have know for a fact we've saved lives. But,
Yeah,
I now speak in the area of resilience and mental health with companies and teams. And one of the things I say very frequently is that, it's great to have crisis intervention, but the way I live my life now is I'm intentionally avoiding crisis intervention.
yeah.
So I think, initiatives where we teach young people, and particularly young men and women, that my happiness, Neve, is not an accident. Like I'm not just happy and upbeat because I'm on
I
the
agree.
podcast with you.
Absolutely. I'm the
I'm
same.
like
Hmm.
this every day of the week, right?
Yeah.
Now, my happiness today is connected to, well, first of all, I'm out of bed at the crack of dawn. I'm out of bed at 5:45 most mornings.
Yeah.
Why? Because it guarantees me a great night's sleep tonight.
Yep.
When we finish recording this podcast, I don't lie in bed and go, "Oh my God, I can't sleep. Nobody loves me. Nobody rang." I don't think all that. I just get into bed and I go, three, two, one, and I'm
Yep.
gone. It's a coma, right?
Mm.
Non-negotiables. Like, you don't know anyone who's given up toilet paper, do you?
Who's given up toilet paper? No.
No, like you just need it, right? And you do it every
Yeah.
day, or you wouldn't give up. You wouldn't say, "Do you know what? I won't brush my teeth for 5 or 6
Yeah.
weeks," right? My mental health and is connected to my happiness. So it's not something I take haphazardly and hope I'll need intervention, or hope there's intervention when I need it. So
Yeah.
like I went to the gym this morning, and as mad as it sounds, I was listening to I was listening to it's Viking war music crossed with house music. It's really great. But like I went for 45 minutes flat out in the gym. All my anxiety, my stress is gone, right?
Hmm.
We ate healthy local regional food at lunchtime today. I went for a walk. Like I live right across the river from Waterford Castle, and I'm not back drinking. I'm not on drugs. We went for a walk this afternoon. We're looking across through the woods at a
Hmm.
medieval castle. The sun is setting, and the dolphins are swimming on the river this evening.
Yeah.
Like that sounds like a painting, but that's
Hmm.
that.
Yeah.
So I try to learn something every day. Rather, I try to ring someone that's important to me that I love and care about every day. Um, I stack as many of those things up as I can. I used to
Yeah.
wake up when I had depression or anxiety. I used to wake up and I'd say, "God, I hope I have a good day today." I removed the hope. Like back to what we were talking about earlier, actions,
Yeah.
you
And
know.
it's responsibility, I think. It's taking responsibility. Some people don't like when I say that, but to an extent, it's
I know you haven't, but I would swear you stole my script for tomorrow, right? Because so I have this story I'd love to share it with you.
Mhm.
So I was on a flight to Vienna in the 80s. I think it was about 87 or 88. And have you ever put your bag, Neve, on a seat to stop someone talking to you?
Yeah, of course, all
Of
the
course
time.
you have. Everyone has, right? Everyone feels bad about it, or put headphones in because I'm not going to talk to the weirdo beside me, right? So I sat beside this gentleman and his wife, and I was the weirdo, by the way. But I looked over at his arm, and the skin was sort of, puckered up, crunched. And I
Hmm.
said to
Yeah.
this man, I said, God, that
Yes,
really
I love
hurt.
this story. You know, go ahead.
Yeah, it's in the book, but I said
Yep.
to him, like,
Hmm.
what happened to your arm? And this guy told me that, like, I couldn't believe, like, the first amazing thing that happened was I shut up for an hour and a half. He told me a story that took an hour and a half, and
Yeah.
he told me that he was a Holocaust survivor, and himself and his wife had met in Auschwitz. And the day the Russians liberated the camp, he took a sharp knife, and the reason he had a scar on his arm was he had been branded by the SS, and he cut the SS number off his arm, and he said to me, I chose my scar of hope rather than their number of hate. And really nice man. He looked
Hmm.
like something you should see on a biscuit ad. Like he was like grey and soft and lovely. He was just lovely,
Yeah.
and she was lovely. But like he told me about that he was going back to Vienna because he hadn't been there since his childhood. Everyone he knew was murdered. Himself and his wife had gone to America. They'd grown up together. They fell in love. They got married. He had multiple businesses. He had American children now. And this guy said to me, like, I was just amazed. And I said to him,
Incredible
like,
story. Yeah.
how can you be so positive and so happy
Hmm.
given what happened at the start of your life?
Yeah.
And he said, like, just what you said. He said, I am a master of my own destiny. I chose happiness, hope. I chose life. He
Hmm.
said, I will not let them destroy my life. He said, it was a terrible couple of years, but
Yeah.
I had an amazing life, and it's for me, like I'm sure, look, this will be out after the event tomorrow, but like I speak about my English teacher. I had an English teacher, I remember when I was 14, and he came into class one day, and he knocked on the door and he said to our class teacher, can I speak to these boys? And the teacher said, yes, yes, go ahead. And he said, boys, I require your copies in the staff room by 4 p.m. Right? And I was thinking, okay, Voldemort, lovely to meet you. So he disappeared out, but a few minutes later he came back a second time. He forgot something he wanted to say, but he didn't knock. He just opened the door, right? And I won't shout in case someone's driving a car, but he shouts at the whole class, "You are masters of your own destiny." As in, if you don't get it in, it's your problem. You fix your problems, you sort your life. And sometimes I know when people are in crisis or if you're sad or if you're struggling, and for someone to say, get your stuff together, it
Hmm.
can
Hmm.
seem like you're cold and not caring. But the bottom
Yeah.
line is the great things that happen in my life happen because of actions I took.
Yeah.
And the crappy things that were happening in my life were also in the main because of actions that I took. I said to my wife once, Neve, why did you never ask me to stop drinking properly? And she's very clever. She said to me, if you stopped for me, she said, you'd have stopped for a week, a month, or a year. She said, but when you realized this was you saving you, this was the right thing for you to do. She said, I knew you wouldn't drink again.
Yeah.
And I was like, bloody hell, like that's serious wisdom, and she's right.
She is a wise woman. I love that part when you were doing your first Ironman.
Yeah.
When the guy was coming on the bike beside you, what's your why? What's your why? No, go deeper, go deeper. I thought that's incredible.
Do you know what? I'm going to have to go and read this book. I've forgotten all of this. Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember it
that it's
all. Yeah.
sheep. Anyone who's done Ironman Bolton, Sheepshank Hill, and I'm going up the hill, and I was truly miserable. Like I was properly crying, and I was looking at the clock and there's cut-off times. I knew I couldn't do it. And weirdly, Jeremy Clarkson's wife had just gone past
Yeah.
me for the second time and I was disgusted. She was so fit. And that this guy just pulled up alongside me. Total stranger. I love strangers and I love talking to people. The magic of
Hmm.
humanity, of sharing
Hmm.
ideas or talking to
Yes.
strangers. And I think when you talk to a stranger too, there's no filter, like I'm never seeing him
Yeah.
again, and I've no reason to lie to him, or there's no camouflage or impressing him. I spoke to someone the other day, the sort of person who, if you tell them you were in Tenerife, they'll tell you they were in 11 Reef, that kind of person. But
Yeah.
there's no 11 Reef. This was just us being two humans, and I was in
Yeah.
a bad way. And I said, "Why are you crying?" And I said, "Because I'm in pain." He said, "No." He said, "Why are you really crying?" And I said, "I can't do this." And he said, "What's your why?" And I was looking at him going, "What do you mean, what's my why? Like, like I'm just want to finish it." He goes, no, no, no. He said, nobody trains for a year to swim 4K, cycle 180 and run a marathon in one go without having a reason. And I was honest with him. I said, I'm doing this because I want my kids to think of me as a special dad. And I said, I'm also doing this because I want my wife to realize I'm not a regular husband. I want her to admire that I got as physically fit, as strong as I could after the alcohol. And he said, think of those, that'll get you there today. You know, I don't know, I know we did it in the edit. Did I? I'm not sure in the book if I actually spoke about his why. Did I say his why? I'm not sure if I
Yes, you
did.
did, about he lost his wife.
His
She
wife
was in her
passing away.
30s. He came home
Yeah.
and she had
Like
died on the
he
sofa.
told me
Yeah,
he came home one
yeah,
evening and his wife was young wife and she was dead.
yeah,
And he lost his job. He nearly lost his house. He couldn't eat.
yeah.
He couldn't sleep. He was consumed with sadness. And last ditch desperation, one of his friends came around with a bike one evening and said, "Come for a cycle with me." And he went for a cycle. His friend said, "Hold on to the bike," and left him. Went back to the house, and he said that night he went out on the bike and he just cycled for hours and hours.
Yeah.
And for the first time ever, he came back to the house starving. And for the first night in months, he slept and he went,
Yeah.
"Oh." And he did it again, and he did it again, and he did it again. And he
Yeah.
said, my why is because she's smiling down from heaven on me,
Yeah.
you know. And I was like I got up the hill and I got to the far side, and I remember starting the marathon. I knew I had 6 hours to the deadline, and I knew I could do it, you know. Um, but like it's funny, Ironman's very commercial, like it's very expensive to do, and it's a real
Yeah.
commercial product. They make a lot of money from it, but their slogan is anything is possible. And I suppose for me, I suddenly realized the only thing that's holding me back in life is me. I had complete clarity.
Yeah.
Not I don't not in a mad, you know, Californian motivational speaker way, but a complete clarity. Anything I want to do, I can do. I just have to make a decision that it's what my goal is, make a decision and when I'm going to achieve that goal, make a list of the actions. And my good friend Keith Barry calls it immediate and bloody action. Sit down, make a list of everything and go at it.
Yeah.
And that's what I do, you know. Um, it's funny, we were you know, we were on a flight there the other day coming home, and for some strange reason, I don't know, is it pressurized air cabin? If I get great ideas on airplanes, but I have
Me too.
a book, I have my passion book, my ideas book, and top of the page, I write a goal, I write the idea, and then the page usually has 32 lines. So I write 32 actions with 32 dates and 32 times.
Wow.
And you go down the list, and it's like me, it's profoundly simple and stupid, but it works. Like people say to me, like, oh my, like I changed my car recently, and it's the first time in my adult life I had no car loan. Like, it's a beautiful car, it's really fast, I love it. But I wrote the name of the car on the top of the page. I wrote the date I was going to pick it up. I wrote a pile of actions and things I needed to do. But I bought a car, and every other car in my life, I've had 5 year car loan. The car falls apart. You get another car loan, and you start again. You
Yeah.
know. But like
Yeah.
that ritual of writing things down and reflecting. I think too, you know, from a coaching point of view, it's interesting when I work with teams or businesses. It's something that a lot of people don't do is give themselves time to think.
Taking a
You
step
know,
back. Yeah.
yeah, if you step back and sit down, most people can tell you the solutions to the problems in their life,
Yeah.
and most people can tell you the actions that will help solve those problems. But sometimes we're so caught up in the speed of life and the misery of life, like to
Yep.
actually stop with a blank sheet of paper and a pen and go, right,
Absolutely. Yeah.
what do I need to do? You know?
Exactly. And starting with what do I truly want? Because sometimes we can say, oh, yeah, I'll go for that. And we get to the top and realize that we've climbed the wrong ladder. And, you know,
Yeah.
it's that clarity with what do I truly want in my life? You know, what's important to me. And
Yeah. But I mean, you know, I'm kinder to to myself. Like I don't beat myself as much up anymore. Like I didn't love me very much. I didn't feed me well. I didn't exercise. I wasn't looking after myself. I wasn't looking after my happiness. And when things go wrong or I make mistakes, like I'm good now at admitting I'm just human.
yeah,
You know, I'm a
yeah,
regular person. Um,
mhm,
I have feelings. I hurt. You know, I need to be kinder to myself.
yeah,
And it's funny, you would think that being harsher on yourself, you make more progress. But it's actually the inverse for me, is that like giving myself space to get things wrong or to think or to sleep or to recover, you know, these things are making the success, you know?
Absolutely, yeah, self-compassion and yeah, being okay with making mistakes. It's about dropping our ego as well. It's only our ego that is bothered
Yeah,
about
I'll give you
failure,
a really
really.
practical example. I was in a theater not so long ago, and it was a big theater, and I was in the green room, and I was sitting there, and I hate makeup, but sometimes you have to put it on. Anyway, I'm so pasty most of the time. But so I was sitting there with my makeup on, and I'm waiting to go on stage, and I'm like, people assume because you work as a speaker that you've got jazz hands. I'm going to be like, yeah, and like I've gone to the toilet. I won't sleep tonight because of this event tomorrow in Cork. I'm working with the wonderful Erin Mansworth and the Trigon group. They have a hotel group, but I'm
Mhm.
working on leadership. But like, being honest, I will sleep really badly tonight because I'm bloody nervous tomorrow. And I'm doing this like this is my
Yeah.
full-time job. But I rang my wife from the theater. She said, "How are you?" And I said, "It's a full house." She said, "Oh, that's great." I said, "Not really. I'm dying." And she said, "How could you be dying?" She said, "Sure, this is what you do. You do podcast after radio, after telly, after books. This is what you do." She said, "Why could you be
Yeah.
nervous?" And I said, "I'm really nervous." And she said, "Good." And I said, "Well, you horrible little witch," because I wanted her to say, I want to say, "Well, you
Yeah.
poor chicken," and I'm so proud of you, and keep going, and you can do this, and believe in yourself, right? And she said, I'm glad you feel like that." And I said, "That's lovely." I said, "I wanted some empathy or compassion. Why did you say that?" And she goes, "Those feelings mean you care." And the fact that you
Massively.
care, she said, the minute you open
Yeah.
your mouth on stage or an event, people a mile away can see you believe
Yeah.
what you're saying, that you're a genuine person, that they're real feelings, that these are your real ideas and thoughts. She said, people will love that. She said, the minute you ring me and I say, "How are you feeling?" And you say, "Can't be bothered." She said, "I'm going to tell you to get in the car and come home because that doesn't work as a speaker. And
Yeah.
she was right.
Yeah.
But
Beautiful. Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Yeah.
uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable all of the time.
Yeah.
You know?
And life begins at the end of our comfort zone is one of my favorite quotes as well, you know.
Yeah, it's
It's
it's it's it's so true. Like I mean, like a lot of those cliches from motivational speakers and writers, and there's an element of real truth in it.
absolutely.
Like it's funny, exploring the ice water thing at the moment. Like I see all these people on social media saying, "Oh my God, it's wonderful." It's not. It's bloody
No, it's
war.
very painful. I've done it
It's
in Geneva,
horrendous,
Lake
and
Geneva.
I'm not going
Yeah.
to be rude, but anatomically for men, it's not pleasant, right? But it dawned on me the other morning. I'm standing, it's 7 o'clock in the morning, right? I have a hammer in my hand. I have to break the ice to get into this thing, right?
Wow.
But when you crunch it down, I was faced with a decision: do it or don't do it. There was nobody there. There's no media. There's no TV. There's no friends, no family, no one to
Hmm.
impress. I'm standing in the nude at the back door with a hammer going, are you going to do it or not? It's a yes or a no, right? The interesting thing is, I reckon you have about 20 seconds to make a decision. Because within 20 seconds, I was jams back on, back up to bed, cup of coffee, right?
Hmm.
But I did it. But then, if I'm really honest, Neve, the cold water within 3 days, it's not an issue. I'm not doing that panic breathing anymore. I'm not like, I'm actually breathing deep and slow and controlled without
Yep.
any effort. No matter
Which
how
helps a
cold the
lot.
water is, that reflex is gone. But here's the interesting thing: if we're honest with each other, honest about our lives, what I find incredibly difficult is to sit in silence for 10 minutes.
Oh, that's
That,
interesting.
for me, it is 100 times harder than cold water. I'm
Mm.
sitting in the garden this morning. It's pouring rain. It's really windy and cold. And I can see these pigeons in the tree, and they're looking at me going, humans are weird." And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about my day, and I'm thinking about, why am I doing this, or who am I? Or I'm thinking, like to stay in the moment, to be present. For me, that's an
Wow,
incredible challenge.
that's really interesting. Oh, that's your next overcoming to do. I'm running a 30-day meditation challenge in March to meditate for a minimum of 15 minutes every day. I'd love to have you on board.
It's so hard. It's
You
so hard.
know,
Do you
and
know
I
a friend
did
of
for
mine
two
for
hours. I used to do two
Oh
hours
no,
daily
no, no,
for
no,
44
10 minutes.
days.
And I'm like, I actually only discovered this the other day, and I said it to my friend. I said, honest to God, it's like having my brain peeled. To sit in silence for me is just torture. Torture.
Interesting.
I
I just got to observe the mind.
Yeah, no, but I like, it's something I know I need to learn. I remember
Mhm.
when when I was coming off the alcohol. I remember one stage I went to this lovely lady. I was getting therapy, counseling, And I remember at the start of the counseling session, she said, "What would you like to get from this experience, Enda?" And I said, "Peace." And she went, like, what way?" And I said to her, "Your car registration number is 1917254. Your husband's car registration is 191,276. You're insured with Aviva. Your husband is insured with someone else." I said, "Your tax is due in 3 weeks' time." I said, "You graduated from Trinity in 1982. I said, behind me, 6 of the books that I saw were," and she sat there and she went, "Jesus." She said, this is what you're absorbing." And I said, "Yeah." I
Yeah.
said, like, my head is like living inside a firework factory. I don't
Yeah.
ever have one idea. I have 16 ideas. My brain is race, and I find it, um,
Incredible.
it's very,
Really
very hard.
interesting. I'm really
Yeah.
interested. I used to work with children with dyslexia before, and I'm very interested in neurodivergence and different brains
Yeah.
and
So
the
I
part
am
in.
dyslexic. I am
Ah,
dyslexic.
I was sure of it.
Yeah, I'm
But dyslexics
dyslexic,
are
and
very
I didn't.
creative and out of the box thinkers, and
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I didn't learn to really properly read and write until I was in sixth class. And in 1980, it had a special name called stupid, or lazy.
Slow. Hmm.
Yeah, no, I'd love to show you my handwriting. I can barely write. My handwriting is atrocious, right?
Yeah,
But it's an interesting thing, um, that I learned on the last few years of my journey, is that being dyslexic, okay, I cannot spell. I can't. I'm atrocious. Like, if I read something, I forget half of it. If I listen to something or watch something, I'm like something off a memory game show. I can
hmm,
remember unending facts if I read something or listen to
yeah,
something. But not, sorry, not through reading, but it's a really, for anyone listening to this, think about the darkest secret you have. Think about your weakness, whether it's alcoholism, or maybe it's obesity, or maybe it's, I don't know, gambling,
gambling,
or maybe
porn,
yeah, maybe porn,
social
maybe it's your
media.
relationships in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
But what I promise you is, with a little bit of thought, you can flip the script. So what was my biggest weakness? So when I was younger, I was so embarrassed that I couldn't write and couldn't spell. But now I realize I have the imagination of 5 people.
Yeah,
Like, my head is, I
creativity.
come up with them. Like, someone could say to me, "Oh, we're opening a new tire company," and I'll give them 15 names that are really good instantly, and I'll give them a marketing strategy and a video script, like, literally
Mm,
on the cuff, off my hand.
yeah,
But what's your weakness can be your strength. My weakness, like, technically, I'm an alcoholic, which, is in the box, weakness. You're broken. It's something bad about you. But it's simply someone who's obsessed, right? But now
yeah,
I'm obsessed with my career as a speaker. I'm obsessed with travel. I'm obsessed with my family. I'm obsessed with friendships. I'm obsessed with push-ups. I'm obsessed with exercise.
yeah.
I'm obsessed with electric cars. Like, I've taken the worst part of me, and now it's my superpower. Do you know,
Yeah.
it's just
Alchemized it.
fantastic.
Yeah, super.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I don't know how we're programmed as children, thinking that broken is bad,
Hmm.
but broken
Yeah,
isn't bad. Broken is
yeah.
different, and broken is an
It's different.
opportunity
Yeah, yeah.
to do
And
something
that's what I used to
different.
say as well, learning differences, not learning difficulties, it's differences. And usually, if you get to know the person, you can see that
Yeah,
that they use their
yeah.
brain in an
You
incredible way,
said
and we're just conditioned to,
we're conditioned, exactly, and you
yeah,
said an
tick the
interesting thing
box.
there. You said, you said, "Thanks for being so honest," but, like, when I used to teach, I thought for God 100 years, but I remember when I had a class of sixth years for the first time, or fifth years. First thing at the start of class, I'd introduce myself and said, "Look, I'm dyslexic. I can't spell. My writing is atrocious. If you find something that's wrong on the board or wrong on my notes, congratulate yourself, but don't bother telling me, because I won't see it." And then I'd follow it up and I'd say, "Look, the fact is I'm dyslexic, but I'd rather be dyslexic than ugly, right? Because the teacher next door, there's no fixing him, right?" And the kids would fall around laughing, right?
Yeah,
But it was my way of saying, "Look, I'm human. I'll do my best, but this is what's
yeah,
wrong." But the amount of kids who would come up and say to you afterwards, "I'm dyslexic and I'm so embarrassed. Like, you don't give a damn." And I
mm,
said, "No, I don't give a damn, because
yeah,
technology allows me now, like, I have a keyboard here for turning on the computer, but every single thing I type is with dictation on a headphone.
yeah.
Like, I'm going to change my middle name to Chat GPT, because it just has
It's brilliant. Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah, yeah,
transformed it,
yeah,
my linguistic abilities.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
take the bad, take the weak, refocus it, own it, and readjust it, and it can be bloody brilliant, you know?
Absolutely. I completely agree. Fantastic. Yeah, I could chat with you all night, Enda, but I know that you've got
No,
a
I'm
family to get back to.
no, no,
It just,
no. Talk away, talk away, talk away.
I
You're
do,
big.
I want to do the 5 quick fire questions at the end,
Oh
but
God,
before that,
pressure,
let's,
pressure.
I'm excited for those, which I've borrowed from Jay Shetty. He always says it at the end of his podcast. But I do want to just touch on the hope message, and because I'm certain that there's going to be people listening to this that are going through some dark times, and going back to that person you were when you were going through that really dark period of your life, what do you think would have helped you the most to take the action? Because sometimes people just cannot, they're in such a dark place. So what do you think would
Yeah.
be the best next step?
The next step is to realize you have a problem. The next step is to tell someone you're in trouble. There's no loss of masculinity or no
Share the
shame.
load.
I'm broken. I share the load. Get help, right? But let's go back to what we were talking about a few minutes ago. Make a list of 25 things you think that could get you out of where you are, and start at number one. And if it doesn't work, go straight to number two. Keep doing stuff. I think what I would change, if I could go back or advise someone, is sitting and hoping that your life improves is a disaster, because nothing will change and you'll feel worse, right? So whether it means finding an interest, finding a hobby, whether it means going to your GP, whether it means counseling, whether it means medication, whether it means changing job, changing relationship, changing diet, doing something is what,
Yep.
like, ultimately
Just
what
do it,
saves
Nike.
Nike. Yeah,
Yeah,
ultimately
well,
that's
yeah.
what gave me
Hmm.
happiness, and that's what gave me, like, don't get me wrong, like, I mean, I still have bad days, but I have a bad day now. Like last week, I was a bit down. I've hurt my knee, and it's really bad, and it's interfering with things I want to do,
Hmm.
but it's not making me have a bad month or a bad year.
Yeah,
I'll do something about it, and I'll get my
you
knee
move through it.
fixed.
Hmm.
Yeah, but it's like it's perfectly, like, it sometimes maddens me, people who, like, are so positive, like, they see, like, they can go to a funeral and have a great time. It's, some things are sad, some things in
Yeah,
life are messed
that's
up,
life.
something,
Yeah,
but it's life. But it doesn't dictate your whole life.
yeah,
Like, I have bad days, but I don't have bad weeks or bad months,
yeah,
because I take control of those. So your question is, what would I say to someone? I'd say, start thinking, start taking actions, but, like, honestly believe, like, I could not, like, I used to go for walks I remember at lunchtime or morning
hmm,
break in school, and if anyone knows Waterford, near Benilda's church there on the Dunmore Road, I used to stand there and I'd look at traffic, and I'd wait for a truck to come, and every inch of my body and brain was saying, step off the footpath and your pain is over. And people who haven't been affected by mental health crisis can't understand. Like, imagine this. Imagine if it was less pain to get run over by a truck. That was the better option than how I felt.
yeah,
Like that, which is just crazy when I hear myself saying it now. But the thing about suicide is that if anyone listens to this is suicide, can I promise you that if you took your own life, it does not get rid of your pain. What it does is it transfers it to people you love and care about, you would never hurt, and it multiplies that pain by 1,000. It doesn't solve anything. It makes things 100 times worse. I've been to enough funerals of young people who've lost their lives to suicide to see the devastation that it causes in their families. So
yeah,
my thing would be, have hope, take actions, and you will survive. On the first marathon when we left Belfast, we came out of the Europa Hotel. There was about 30 people with me, had a washing machine in my back. I had to walk back to Waterford. I had to make a conscious decision to take one more step. 8 days later, I had lost all of my toenails. I had combustible diarrhea. I broke my 2 feet. I was covered in blisters. I was absolutely thrashed, exhausted. But on the last marathon, on the last day, I had the exact same choice, and that was take one more step. And it's so profoundly simple, but it's just keep going. It doesn't matter how big the step is, how fast the step is, just keep going, and you will come out the other side.
absolutely. Yeah. And then go on to help other people to come out the other side. That's the wonderful part. And that's, what's so awesome about your
Yeah,
path. And
but
yeah.
yeah, sometimes people nearly have me beatified. I could tell the filthiest, dirtiest joke on the planet. We won't do it in the podcast. I say something highly inappropriate or funny or dirty, and people are like, oh my God, like they think it's nearly saint ended, but I'm just me, I'm human.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
people are very kind. They say, you know, I do a lot of pro bono stuff. Um, and you know, like I spoke at an event. I won't say the lady's name because I haven't got her permission, but I spoke at an event. There was hundreds of people at the event, and I instantly saw this woman's face in the audience. I could not stop staring at her. I could see pain and passion, and I just like she instantly stood out to me. Hundreds of people. And at the end, there was a meet and greet, and this lady asked if she could speak to me in private, and we spoke in private. Um, and she explained to me that to the minute 1 year before, her eldest lovely son had taken his own life, and she was just heartbroken on that night. And she ended up at an event where I was speaking, and we spoke, and you know, about pain and love and life, and you know, we had a good cry and we had a good hug. And she told the story so brilliantly. And I said to her, do you know what? You have a brilliant story. And she said, thanks. And I said, did you ever think about helping other mothers? And she said, no. So about a month later, I rang her back and I said, look, I've got an editor, I've got a book company, I've got a publisher, but I want you to get 15 or 20 mothers to tell your story about losing your sons or daughters. And maybe it would help other mothers or sons, you know, that they could pick up this book and read it. And that book is going to happen this year because I saw the energy from that woman's face. And
Yeah.
people say to me, Neve, they say, oh God, you know, you're doing great stuff. I'll be really honest, right? If you know, you said, how would you help yourself? Helping other people is
Yeah.
the most magic therapy ever.
Absolutely.
Like I'm sure I have some altruism. I'm sure I have some goodness in me, but the amount of times I've helped other charities or people raise money or raise awareness, like I've done loads and loads of speaking gigs all over the country. And if you ask me for my top four in the last 5 years, every one of them were pro bono charity events where I met amazing people like that woman, you know.
Yeah.
It's magic, like it really is, you
Absolutely.
know.
No, I agree. I agree. I lived in Africa, actually. You mentioned I lived in Kenya and
All
worked
right.
with women from the Nairobi slums. And yeah, it was the most fulfilling, rewarding work.
You
Yeah.
just feel
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
I mean, it
And
reminds
the
you.
giving we
I I,
receive.
s- I
Yeah.
spoke at a conference in Baltimore. Did you ever say something that you didn't plan that just came out and then you went, "Oh, that's good." You know, you're amazed that
Oh,
your
yeah.
own.
Yeah. Yeah. Or the
Yeah.
opposite, but yeah.
Yeah, or the opposite happens too in life. But I spoke at this event in Baltimore, and it was massive, big 10,000 people in this theater. I was having a heart attack, but I said on the interview, I said, I sometimes have to remind myself that what makes me human is my humanity, my ability to influence other people for good and make a difference in the world. That's what makes me human. Not that I can use a computer, not that I have a mobile phone. It's what mark do I leave on my children, on my community, on my country? What's the trace of me? And it went completely viral on their Twitter feed, and I got a huge. But I had no intention of saying it. It's just what I felt on the day. But it's
Yeah.
true. Like that's what
From the
makes us
heart.
human. Yeah, is our heart, our empathy, our humanity. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Fabulous. Okay, this has been fantastic. Before I dive into the final five questions, I just want everybody, well, two things. Number one, get Enda's book because it's fantastic. As I said to Enda, it just had soul in it, and it was just such a joy to read from cover to cover. I'd highly recommend it. Great reading.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, and
I
go
have
ahead.
I have a weird response from someone. Like, so one of my friends read it, and I said, "What do you think?" He said, "I can't tell you." And I said, "Why?" He said, "It's like I went into your bedroom and took your diary." And I went, "No, you didn't. You went into the bookshop, and it's out there, you know." But it's you know, like we spoke there before we started. I remember Dermot Keyes helped me write the book, and I remember, you know, we'd have a chat or he'd ask me something, and if it was painful or troubled memories, oh, I remember being so upset and so heartbroken and finding it so hard, you know, to do it. But it was so cathartic. It was such good therapy to get down
Yeah,
how I felt and to share it with other people, you know.
yeah, incredible and incredibly brave. Yeah, definitely worth reading. One of the best books I've read in a long time.
Thanks a million.
Yeah, and number two, I want for listeners, anybody who's saying, yeah, I really should get help. I want them to go now and get help now, now is the time. So take this as your sign and, take that step because, look at this incredible potential that, how you've transformed your life, Enda, such an inspiration. And that can be for
Thank
other
you.
people too. Yeah. So just want to say that. Okay. Question 105. And these are proudly stolen from Jay Shetty's podcast.
Okay,
What
I
is
can
the
do it. I can
best?
do it.
And they're quick fire. So short answers. What is
Okay.
the best advice, Enda, that you have ever received?
Lots of answers, but probably from my dad. My dad had a great mantra. He'd say to me, remember, you know nothing. And the minute you think you're an expert or a guru, life runs over you. So I have this overpowering reminder in my head from that advice, keep learning, keep learning, keep learning, keep learning.
Brilliant. And
You
stay
know
humble.
nothing. Remember, you know nothing.
Love it. Love it. Yes. What is the worst advice that you've ever received?
My first week teaching, I was 21, and I remember this cynical, negative, not very nice teacher said to me, don't go near the principal with any problem unless you're the only one with a solution. And I remember thinking, oh, and at the time, I said, oh, thank you very much. But, the same guy on my first morning break said to me, new teacher. And I said, yes. He said, first day. I said, yes. He said, bit of advice. And I said, yes, please. And he said, get out now. So that's the worst advice I ever got because it was the best bloody career. I loved every
Yeah,
second of
yeah.
it,
And
and
I
I miss it.
really love the way you speak about teaching as a profession. I think every teacher should read your book as well, about how you made it such a great profession. Because it can be really hard for teachers, but with the
No,
right
no, no.
attitude,
That's propaganda we put out to justify the holidays. It's bloody great.
yeah. Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Your students, I bet they're very lucky having you as a teacher. Number 3, what is something that you used to value that you no longer value?
Suppose I used to value the social settings with alcohol, but not just because I'm an alcoholic. I have lots of friends now who increasingly I see more and more adults who realize it doesn't serve much purpose in their life. It's nice on a Friday
Mm.
night to have a glass of wine and relax, but I didn't need to drink for confidence. I didn't need to drink for nutrition. I didn't need to drink for, it didn't serve a lot of purpose in my life. Like Ireland are playing in a rugby match. I would go to the match. I might have had 10 pints of Guinness at the match. I'd have spent my entire match going in and out to the bathroom. I wouldn't have seen the match. I'd have paid €90 for a ticket and I never saw the game. I'd talk to my brother at the match because we were drunk. I'd start telling him a joke, which would take 10 minutes. I never saw the match. I
Yeah.
wasn't present in them. Like now I go to a match. Oh my God, I have to be there 20 minutes, before half an hour. I have to see the warm up. I have to watch the match. I drive home and I rewatch the same match that I've recorded and like savor every single second of it. So
Yeah.
something that I could leave behind was the alcohol. My dad chose not to drink because his mom died an alcoholic and his grandmother died an alcoholic. My dad had the intelligence to realize that genetically this was a bad move for him.
Yeah.
I wasn't blessed with the same IQ, so I I had to find out the
Yeah,
hard way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then, it's also, I also say like trust in life because look where it's led you. If you hadn't taken that path, then you wouldn't be having such an impact now. So
No,
it's incredible. You've really made it
you're
count.
so right. You're so right, Neve, because I said to my wife not so long ago, and I said to my brother, I said, he said, "Do you have any regrets?" And I said, God, I wish I had gone and done this a few years ago. Like, I love speaking on stage. I love people's reaction. I love doing or saying something different. Um, you I'll let you into a secret. So I'm doing it tomorrow. I did it. I did it last week. I spoke last week at a conference for VHI and well-being,
Mhm.
all of their well-being staff. But at the start of the event, I said, could everyone please turn off the mobile phones because I have pet hate for mobile phones, right? And you could
Yeah,
see people watching their phones, right? And then I was on the stage and I said, could I borrow someone's phone? So this lady in the front volunteered her phone. So I took her phone and walked back towards the stage. Now she didn't see as I walked back towards the stage, I swapped hers with a phone I had in my pocket. I walked up to my podium. There was a jug of water and I dropped her phone in the water, right? The entire place went, right? And I said, it's probably waterproof. Those new ones are. And she went, no, it's not. And you could see everyone going, oh my God, right? And I asked the
brilliant.
audience, I said, how many people charge their phone, panic if it's at 50%? All the hands went up. How many people have a cover for their phone? Everyone's hand went up. How many people check their phone last thing at night or first thing in the morning? All the hands went up. I said, how many people have a password or a code to protect others getting into the phone? Every hand went up, right?
Yeah.
And I said, hands up anyone who spends 4 hours a day on their phone. Every hand in a full theater went up, right? And meanwhile, this poor lady's looking at her phone and the bubbles are coming out of the phone. And I said, wouldn't it be amazing if we spent half that time on our health, our happiness, our finances, people we love,
Yeah.
instead of an inanimate piece of plastic that really doesn't count for anything? And at that point, I took her phone out of my pocket and I handed it back to her.
Yeah.
But it's funny,
Brilliant
after the
way to
well,
share a
people said to me
message.
afterwards, like the presentation was good, but everyone said all I could think about for the next week was the phone, dropping the poor woman's phone in the water. I shouldn't have done it,
Yeah.
but it was good. It was good fun.
Oh, it was brilliant. It was brilliant. And that reminds me, I don't want to ruin the book for everybody, but that fabulous part where the priest shared when when you're at the funeral for the 14-year-old girl. But what he said about it was fabulous about
Yeah,
how
let's leave that let's leave
yeah,
that hidden
get
for
the book,
people to go
guys,
and
get the
read.
book because it was really good. It was really good. Yeah.
And I
Okay,
should say,
number
if anybody wants to buy the book, if you contact me on my own website, endaodoherty.ie, it's on Kindle and it's on Amazon it's everywhere. But if you buy it from endaodoherty.ie, I can sign it and post it out to people. So if they want to do that,
fabulous.
they can.
Oh,
They can.
I'm gonna have to do that because I got it on Kindle because it wasn't gonna come in time otherwise. So yeah, I want a signed copy. I'll be doing that. Brilliant. Okay, number 4. How would you describe your current life purpose?
Um, I spoke to a group of people the other day, and they asked some similar question, and I said to them, I've my brain is functioning better that I'm sober. I'm thinking differently. I see life differently. But I had a brilliant moment of clarity that it dawned on me recently. There's only two things that matter in life. One is who do you love, and the second one, who loves you. Everything else, whether it's your hair, your car, your house, your job, your bank account,
Yeah.
everything else is just background. Who do you love? Who do you care for? Who will you give your time and energy and life to? And who cares for you? That's all that matters. And someone said to me, God, that's great wisdom. And I said, not really. It took me like 55 years to figure it out, but I know it's true.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. So your purpose is your loved ones to be
My purpose
of
is to love and care of
yeah.
loved ones, friends and family, people that are important
Yeah.
to me. That's my purpose.
Yeah.
Nothing else. I think sometimes in life we can get very much confused in the fog of life. My purpose is to make lots of money. No, it's not. My purpose is to get the next promotion. Well, not really.
Yeah.
What's my purpose is to have a massive house that I pay for over 40 years and leave behind me. Really, it's these things are great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a Buddhist monk. God, I'd love a Ferrari, but
Mhm.
I actually, like, speaking of Ferraris, last week I was in a coffee shop in Dubai and I was talking to this guy, American guy, and he goes, we were just chatting. I said, what do you do for a living? He said, I'm a mechanic. And I said, what kind of mechanic? And he goes, oh, Ferrari. And I said, oh, I love Ferraris. I said, what kind of Ferrari is the garage? And he goes, no, I work for this this gentleman. He has a private Ferrari collection. And all I do is drive his cars, service them. And he's so many Ferraris, just started the first one, goes back to the next one. And total stranger. And I said, well, he must be a millionaire. He says, yeah, yeah, yeah. I said, what's he like to work for? And he goes, oh, he's the most miserable man in the world. He said he's the biggest pain in the ass. He said he's
Yeah.
permanently angry, permanently fed up, permanently looking for the next hit in life. He has no happiness.
Yeah.
And
I believe
I
it.
I, I did a post on LinkedIn on it, and I said I'd love the Ferrari, but I definitely want the happiness first.
Absolutely. Yeah. 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 Apparently some survey was done on about 200,000. After that, it doesn't add any happiness value, apparently.
Yeah,
So
if you
yeah,
yeah,
makes
that's
sense.
right. But they say, if you're a miserable git and you win the lotto very rapidly, you will revert to being miserable.
Yeah, it's
Your
magnified. Yeah.
happiness, yeah, your
Yeah.
happiness level is down to you, not down to what you possess.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, don't get me wrong, like I work with a lot of high performance teams, sporting teams and business teams, and we look at efficiencies and time management, we look at mindset, we look at focus, we look at how to get the best out of yourself. That's part of the journey too. Like, to
Yeah.
be fulfilled is to
Totally.
maximize your potential.
Absolutely. To grow. Yeah. Like a tree to grow. Yeah. Great. Okay, question 5. I'm really curious about this answer. If you could create one law in the world that everyone had to follow, what would it be?
Do you know what? That's a really hard question, right? Because law implies, draconian and do it this way and black and white. Life is not black and white. One rule, a rule that we will enforce this rule no matter what. It's
Yeah.
not always possible to do that in life. If I could tell you, I had a young man, I had a teacher in school. My role was assistant principal. I had a teacher who wanted this kid chopped in half because he was coming late to school every day. After lunch, he was late for her class every day. She wanted me to execute him. And I said, why is he late? She said, it doesn't matter. The rule is he's late. I said, it does matter.
Yeah.
I found out the reason that kid was late was he was waiting until everyone went back to class because his mom was a heroin addict. He had no food and he was eating from the bins outside the school. So our rule, if I say a rule, a rule is you come to class at 2 o'clock. I couldn't punish him. I couldn't, we had to actually, the kid ended up being taken into care. So I'm not a big fan. I understand rules and I understand that they keep us in place. So prefacing my answer, what would my rule be? If I was a law, my law is a bit abstract, but I'd love people to think or feel in advance the impact of their words before they say them to someone else. So I know it's totally impossible to enforce, but
Yeah.
what if it is, we talk about the gateways with words. What I'm going to say, is it true? Will it help this person? Will it help their life? Will it cause hurt? Will it cause pain? That would be my law rule would be, think before we speak, because you can have a massive clash with someone being totally unaware that they were struggling that day just to get dressed or just to survive, and you could literally be taking someone's life with that sentence.
Yep.
So my rule would be, let's go really short. I should have given the short answer. My rule would be kind.
Wonderful. Could I share what for me, how I would
What would yours
summarize
be?
that from what you've said? Well, no, for your one, I think, and I think I'd probably, I think it's a good rule, I'd enforce it too, is to put yourself in other people's shoes and imagine what they might be going through every day.
Yeah. That's
Because
far more
yeah,
eloquent,
that's
Neve. That's far more direct and eloquent than I managed. I took 4 minutes to get there. You got there in one
Oh no, but
sentence.
I loved your explanation. It was fantastic, and yeah, just really, really delightful. Yeah, you're an incredible person, and I'm gonna
Thank you,
do.
Neve.
Is it anything that I can do or any of the listeners can do to support your work? Then let us know. You mentioned. Well, I'm not even going to say it because people have to read the book about what's next. Or do you want to share what might be next? There's a few suggestions at the
Yeah,
end
there's
of
a
it.
couple of things. It's changed since the book, so I'd love to do 100 miles on the Great Wall of China, but my knees aren't doing great at the moment, and I have managed to give myself arthritis in both feet. So that's one of the consequences. Apparently, washing machine carrying is not good for your health. Um, I have a thing that I'm working on at the moment. This expression we have, get it off your chest.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love to see, that's partly connected to the push-ups. I'd love to see if I could lift 1 million kilos off my chest. So to bench press 1 million kilos. So obviously you'd be doing 40 or 50 kilos, but to do it for 24 hours or 30 hours, like, and again, your face is the reason I want to do it. You, like, people not listening to this, you literally went like
Yeah.
jaw drop 1 million kilos. Like you can't, like I work as a motivational inspirational speaker. You can't pretend to be motivational or inspirational. You have to walk the talk. So, most of my friends and family go, Enda, that's completely mad. You will mess yourself up. So 1 million kilos, that's like not possible, but it is possible. And I'm getting closer and closer. It might take me another year, but back we were talking about persistent, consistent effort.
Yeah.
That's why, like, oh God, I feel like I'm coming out here too, but like that's why at the moment I'm doing about 1,000 push-ups a day, because I want to get to a point where my chest and upper body is able to take that. But like that excites me. Get it off your chest. It's a very good friend of mine.
Amazing.
Well, there's a very good friend of mine, Angela Hayes. I hope she gets to listen to this at some stage. She's the most incredible woman, but um, Angela runs a charity in Kilkenny called Chalk Tom. And Angela came home one day to find her husband had taken his life. And she had small kids, she had to find a house income. Um, 1 year to the day, her eldest son couldn't live without his dad, and he took his life. And Angela was on the Late Late Show. People can find it if they look it up on YouTube. But her response was similar to Joan Freeman. She said, I'm not going to let another wife or another family feel like this. And she set up her counselling service in Kilkenny, where she's giving free counselling to anyone who contacts them and needs help. So a charity like that and people like that, like, that's part of my future plan, is to raise money for them to go and do an event like that, you know. But I
Yeah.
think what people see the event, they don't realize, like, any event I've done, it's pretty much 2 years training and planning to get your body to
Yeah,
the
it's
level
an
you want to
incredible
do.
amount of hard work. Yeah.
Yeah, like for Kilimanjaro, like, it's crazy saying it now, but like for Kilimanjaro, Saturdays and Sundays, I'd put 40 kilos in a bag, and we'd go to the mountains from 9 to 5. We'd go uphill for the day, you know, or um for Belfast to Waterford with the washing machine, like, we would do Saturday and Sunday, I would do 20 kilometers with the washing machine. It just was full on. It was 16, 18 hours of training a week to get ready for it, you know. But
Yeah.
oh my God, it was so worth it. I mean, it's
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like you said about owning the camping shop, it was epic. It still is epic, you know. And it's amazing that bond, Neve. Like, there were people
That's beautiful. Yeah. You talked about
yeah, well,
that in
there
the
were
book as
people
well.
who are in
Yeah. The
Africa with
connections.
me
Yeah.
that I consider my brothers and sisters, that I ring every day. I talk to them every day, because we had the most amazing experience, you know. And we had on the night we were on Kilimanjaro, on the summit night, we had a fatality. There was a young lady in her
Yeah.
30s lost her life. And like, up to that point, we were doing a mad adventure fundraiser. It was great crack. And suddenly we realized, this is hardcore. This is different. This is, you know, it's difficult, but it's the difficulty in life. It's our purpose and meaning comes from the challenges, you know.
Yeah.
Um, if you see the diamond on someone's finger, it sparkles because it's been squeezed and changed and pressured in life. And, you know, if anyone's listening to this and you're having a tough time, you know, one of my favorite things to say to people is, in the darkest clouds, in the most miserable storm, I promise you there's beautiful, beautiful sunlight just the other side of those clouds. And you just have to keep going, and you will walk through them, and you will feel that sunlight on your face.
They're perfect words to end on, and thank you so much. This has been
Thank you,
really
Neve.
beautiful, and I'd ask everyone to share this far and wide, and yeah, to support Enda in any way we can. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Thank you so much, Neve.
Okay, have a great evening. Good luck tomorrow. I'm sure you'll wow them. Bye bye.